Okay, good evening, everyone.
How's it going?
All right, if I could get everyone's attention here. We want to thank you for coming this evening, and we're going to start out, if we could get your attention up on the screen.
The Nathan and Esther Pelz Holocaust Education Resource Center wanted to make certain that all students in Wisconsin were given the opportunity to be impacted by the perspective-changing results of Holocaust education. So began a mission with a dedicated task force of professionals and volunteers led by HERC in collaboration with the Jewish Community Relations Council of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation and the Wisconsin Jewish Conference, advocated in large numbers to support the creation of a legislative mandate that would ensure all Wisconsin students would learn the lessons of the Holocaust and other genocides. Led by a team of bipartisan co-authors, Senator Alberta Darling, Representative John Plummer, and Representative Lisa Subeck, both houses of the Wisconsin State Legislature, unanimously passed Senate Bill 69, mandating education on the Holocaust and other genocides, at least once in middle school and at least once in high school. In the spring of 2021, Wisconsin became the 19th state to mandate Holocaust education in grades 5 to 12 in public, charter, and private schools.
Now, we know this is not the end-all, be-all. It's not a solution to eliminating hate, eliminating anti-Semitism in the hearts and homes of folks across the state, but it's surely always a good start.
By driving advocacy efforts and bringing in students, educators, and survivors to testify, HERC and its allies had achieved their goal to inspire future generations through the lessons of the Holocaust. But there was so much more to do, and HERC was ready. HERC's leadership promised, with the enactment of Wisconsin Act 30, that they would provide resources at no cost to schools. Since this historic moment, HERC's expert education staff has traveled to hundreds of school districts across the state to provide comprehensive training on teaching the Holocaust in the classroom, reaching 775 educators, which impacts 137,000 students throughout Wisconsin. Our innovative website, teachholocaust.org, allows teachers to use more than 100 cutting-edge lesson plans that are searchable by grade, class duration, and state social studies standard. Since the mandate, our website has been used by over 26,000 users. HERC's Speakers Bureau brings Holocaust survivors and loved ones of survivors to visit schools, houses of worship, and community spaces around Wisconsin to share testimonies of the Holocaust, empowering students to be vigilant against the slow progression of single acts of hate that accumulate over time with catastrophic consequences. Wisconsin Act 30 has made a real difference in the way that Holocaust education is being taught in Wisconsin. We're reaching more students than ever before, and they're learning about the Holocaust in a way that is both meaningful and engaging for learners of all ages. The work we do is the difference between a checkmark completing required curriculum and a paramount perspective-changing life experience. Support from the community helps to assure us that young people will not be lost to bigotry and hate by allowing HERC to continue developing cutting-edge programs and resources that inspire future generations, making the world a more just society for all. Holocaust education impacts our future, showing us the resilience of humankind and cultivating a moral responsibility to speak up when something isn't right, be more inclusive, treat others fairly, and exercise empathy. Challenging us to look at our own lives differently and realize the human impact of how we treat one another every day. Each year it becomes more crucial to educate future generations about what happens when hate goes unchecked. The consequences of hate are universal. It's today's reality and tomorrow's threat. We exist to remember, educate, and inspire.
That's an amazing and very well-produced video that I think does a very good job representing the impact that HERC has had already in a year in the state of Wisconsin. So good evening, everyone. My name is Ted Knightsky. I am a professional educator by training. I've been a superintendent of schools, a teacher, and now I'm the executive director and CEO of ACISA in the state of Wisconsin and the Senate of the state of Wisconsin. There's one little number up there I wanted you to pay attention to, and it showed the amount of teachers who were trained this year and the impact that that had on students, 137,000 some students. That was in a year. And you can take that times 3 for the impact of what this does. The power of HERC and what it's already doing in the schools across the state of Wisconsin is it's taking the most powerful tool there is that fights ignorance, and it's education. And the standards that were put in place and the bipartisan support that put this bill into place is transforming the ability for us to teach students the real history of what is going on so that our children can grow up and advocate and step into the storms that they face around ignorance and challenge them. And I got to see that firsthand this year when my wife and I worked with HERC and we brought in Samantha and Ava to Port Washington High School. And Ava and I sat up on the stage and I interviewed Ava in front of all the students. She had been on my podcast that kind of went viral. She's a little superstar across the world of podcasts. And I watched as a room full of 800 14, 15, 16, and 17, and 18-year-olds, and if you've ever been around 5 of them, you know it's hard to keep their attention, for 60 minutes sat there quietly, absorbed the impact of the moment. And here's why this is powerful. Because I believe in something called shaking hands with history. We're all only 1 or 2 generations from significant events in our lives. My grandfather was a veteran of World War II. I grew up around that man. That man shook my hand. He shook the hand of his grandfather who had fought in the Spanish-American War, and his grandfather who fought in civil wars, and his grandfather, etc., all the way back throughout all of history. It's only 1 or 2 handshakes away for you to tell that story. So when you stand in front of audiences and you impact 137,000 children in the course of a year, that means they're going to tell 3 people what they learned. And you compound that over time, and that builds courage for children to grow into adults who then advocate and do things different. And the fact that Wisconsin is one of 19 states is sad to me because it should be 50, and it should be taught to every child. And as history continues to move forward, the sad part, having been a history teacher, is this. All of us took history classes, and the further we get away from that history, the less we learn about it. And this is something that can not only never be forgotten, but must always be on the front of the conversations so that we can use that education as a tip into fighting against the ignorance that we face every single day that our kids are now growing up to be more and more powerful fighting. The last thing I want to tell you is how this provides hope. Because part of me wishes that the H was hope. Because one of the cool things that happens with my own daughter, and it's kind of weird, she's very embarrassed about this, but my daughter Grace is in that selfie on the cover of the annual report. She's the blonde-haired girl in the front who, quote-unquote, Dad, stop letting them use that picture of me. I don't like how I look. Because she's from the instant selfie generation, she'd prefer to be the... But what's powerful about that is my daughter is going to grow up to be a history teacher. She's a freshman in college. She already called to talk about the fact that in her first day, they had to talk about, in their social study, their first history class, what is a historical event that you were a part of? She said the day I met Ava. And then she went on to talk about that. She talked about Ava in her applications for college. So I don't want you to underestimate your impact as relatives and families and friends, our own education and our ability to impact other people, because it is magnificent and it's powerful. So I want to thank you from my heart as a professional educator, somebody who oversees education in the state of Wisconsin and supports HERC and everything about Holocaust education. From my heart, for those of you who stood behind the group as they advocated, those of you who pushed for the legislation, and those of you who fund and support this amazing cause. Wisconsin has a significant advantage with the resources put in place by the team that's here tonight. So if you would join me in thanking them for all of their work and what they've done, the HERC team is pretty phenomenal. And the last thing I want to do is just reiterate the fact that the stories that we've heard from our families, our grandparents, those of us who are directly related to people who've lived through, survived, and are now advocates for education, is you can never forget their stories. Put yourself into the conversation. Be available at the local level to go into schools and go into places of worship and have the conversations to advocate for it. Because if your voice is silent, it leaves us to a book. Nobody reads books, they watch videos, and in the absence of the real conversation of a personal experience, you're not going to be able to touch someone's heart so that they step into the storms and advocate for others. That's my last plea for you. So I will be emceeing for you this evening, and I'm pretty excited about it. And the one thing I'm most excited about tonight is that we're honoring the impact that you have all had on the education of children in the state of Wisconsin. You've got to remember, in the state of Wisconsin, there are 421 public school districts. There are 700 plus private parochial schools and charter schools in the state of Wisconsin. And they have a lot of work to do, but they've got great resources ahead of them. The majority of kids in the state of Wisconsin do not live in urban centers. They live in rural places, places with names that very few of us can pronounce. Schools of 17 or 18 kids in 8th grade. And the more we can get into those areas, the better off the entire state will be, as well as, frankly, all of us. So, now I'd like to introduce two board members this evening who have really been fundamental in spearheading a lot of the efforts. You saw them up in the photos there. I'd like to welcome Rick Rockmora and Joe Pelz to the stage.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Rockmora. I'm the chair of the Nathan and Esther Pelz Holocaust Education Resource Center, otherwise known as HERC. I'm joined on stage by our vice chair, Joe Pelz. HERC is a program of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, and Miriam Rosenzweig, CEO of the Federation, is here with us tonight. There she is. Also joining us is Supervisor Sheldon Wasserman of the Milwaukee County's 3rd District. It's an honor to be here tonight with so many friends and supporters who make it possible for HERC to accomplish our mission. Our focus, which you just heard, is to teach the lessons learned from the Holocaust and to inspire future generations to sustain a peaceful and just society for all. When HERC and our friends at the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, the Jewish Community Relations Council, and the Wisconsin Jewish Conference began our efforts to advocate for mandated Holocaust education, we knew that we would have to meet a lot of challenges. We also promised lawmakers and the people of Wisconsin that HERC would be there as a statewide Holocaust resource at no cost to the schools. Just 1 year ago, the Holocaust Education Mandate, Act 30, officially took effect. Since then, Wisconsin students have had the opportunity to hear testimony directly from Holocaust survivors and their families, to attend programs and field trips led by our expert staff, and to participate in lessons given by trained educators, utilizing HERC's world-class resources. To illustrate HERC's success, I'd like to share with you an important number: 96,075. That is the total number of students from all over Wisconsin that experienced HERC's program during the first year. As we celebrate this achievement of this first year, we wish to express our profound gratitude to 3 lawmakers who co-authored the bill. Senator Alberta Darling, Representative John Plummer, and Representative Lisa Suga. Thanks to their superb bipartisan leadership, the bill was passed unanimously in both houses, something that we can all cheer about. And here's Joe Pelz.
Thank you. Central to our efforts was a volunteer task force led by Bev Greenberg. who inspired our community and state to advocate for a Holocaust education mandate. These individuals recognized the profound need for such a law in Wisconsin, and they mobilized from the grassroots all the way to the halls of the state capitol to generate support for this legislation. Please join us in offering a round of applause to the members of the Volunteer Holocaust Education Task Force, who I ask to please rise as their names are called. Task Force Chair, Co-Chair, Bev Greenberg. Task Force Co-Chair, Jody Majerus. I don't believe Jody is here tonight. Thank you, Jody. Task Force Co-Chair, Marilyn Pelz. Committee Member, Frank Ozaukee. Committee Member, Scott Lone. I don't believe Scott is here this evening. Committee Member Monica Olad. Committee Member Mark Miller. Committee Member Arlene Pelz. Committee Member Rick Rockamora. And Committee Member Jody Habish-Sinnigan. To the entire task force, we commend your leadership. And as a token of our appreciation, we are proud to present each of you with an engraved Kiddush cup to celebrate future occasions together. To each of the task force members, this is the engraved Kiddush cup, and staff at HERC will find you at the end of the evening to present it to you. As we kick off tonight's celebration, we want to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for answering our calls to engage your local representatives to help get the mandate passed, for giving vital philanthropic dollars to support HERC's life-changing work, and for reaffirming your commitment to Holocaust education in Wisconsin. Thank you very much.
Wrote the speech, Joe?
Thank you, gentlemen, for your leadership and all of the volunteers as well. I wanted to add before I introduce our next presenter and guest, I was at the State Assembly the day that the team bussed over to Madison to present, to testify. And I had a bill authored, which was very exciting, which changed school finance, literally adding a comma into a bill. And I was told by Representative Thiesfeld, who was the chair of the Education Committee, Ted, we don't need you to talk a lot. We have something much more important than you today. And then I met all of you, and that was a pretty awesome day. And it was much more important than my little comma. All right, so the next person who's going to join us today is someone who is a phenomenal leader of HERC, someone who has done a really nice job collaborating with all of the different groups and stakeholders across the state of Wisconsin. Please join me in welcoming our Executive Director, Samantha Abramson, to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Well, that's loud. Okay. Well, you're awake now. If you were falling asleep, you're up. Okay. So hi, I'm Samantha Abramson. I'm the Executive Director for almost 3 years now of the Nathan and Esther Pelz Holocaust Education Resource Center. And I want to start by really just expressing my gratitude. I'm grateful to have grown up in this community here in Milwaukee. I'm grateful to my parents back there who raised me. Thank you. And I'm really grateful for all of you, for showing up not just today, but every day. I am very much a product of this community. I grew up here, We're going to hear from Jody Hadler-Sinekin in a little while. I won that essay contest as a teenager, and it set me on my way. So thank you for everything that you've done to raise kids like me, who grow up to want to change the world. So thank you. And I really want to thank our board leadership. We heard from our wonderful chair and vice chair already, but just know that when the mandate got passed, we had to change how we worked as HERC very quickly. We mobilized, we had a lot of heart-to-heart meetings, we went through a strategic planning process, and anybody who's ever heard those words, strategic planning, you get all sorts of emotions, and it was so important for us to have those conversations together. We learned a lot about ourselves and the work that we are prioritizing now as an organization. And I want to thank our staff. Some of our staff is behind the scenes. We don't always get a chance to see them or appreciate them. A few of them might actually be outside right now, so if you see them, definitely thank them. But I really want to thank Elena Coleman, who just started with us last week, Sam Goldberg, Jennifer Koss, Michael Morris, and Sarah Sillers for the work that they do. Thank you. I have two short stories I want to share that really shows the heart of HERC and how we work as an organization. First, look at your tables tonight. You'll see that they look a little different than some of the other social events that you might go to. Many of the tables have school supplies. First and foremost, HERC is here to support schools and the educators and students in those schools. And we could have gone and bought flowers. Our staff and planning committee agreed that being able to get materials for schools that we would then give to the schools afterwards was more meaningful. So every place setting you're seeing is going to an MPS school after tonight. I also want to tell a very short anecdote, and Werner, I did not clear this with you, so I hope it's okay. We, as an organization, value Holocaust history, and we value original stories, stories that connect students to that content firsthand, that cannot be disputed by Holocaust denialists or anybody else because we're using primary sources. Our education director, who could not be with us tonight, was putting together some new lesson plans earlier this spring and did not have as many photos of Werner as a child as she obviously would have hoped, and it's of course because of Werner's story and what happened to his family during the Holocaust. And our staff member did a lot of research, a lot of digging, and actually unearthed two photos that featured baby Werner, one with his mother and one with his father. And not only did we give these photos to Werner, and we hope that they provide some comfort to you, we now get to use those photos when we're telling Werner's story to students. And seeing those pictures, being able to place the human being the students are seeing in front of them with this history is life-changing. And that is what we do at HERC every day. We don't take shortcuts. We make sure we're using original research and history to tell the stories that need to be told. Now I hear our past board chair, Mark Miller, in my head right now, and he's telling me I've used the word history too much. And I need to talk about the future, because at its core, that is actually what Holocaust education is all about. We love history, I'm a trained historian, but Holocaust education is about the change we're making in students today, so that they can lead our world in the future. And to that end, I want to spend just a few minutes talking about the innovations underway at HERC right now. We all heard a little bit about what we're up to, what we've been up to since the mandate, And we want to keep growing. We want to keep meeting the needs of the schools and the educators in our state. So I hope you'll bear with me as we go through. Priority number 1 for HERC is training Wisconsin's educators. They are our state's #1 resource. They impact, on average, 175 students each year. Each teacher we train in how to educate about the Holocaust with respect, with responsibility, with proper resources, is going to change the lives of 175 students that year. So it's really important that we do that. 97% of educators who worked with HERC in the last year, and there were 775 of them since 2021, 97% of them say that coming to our workshops, participating in our learning opportunities, changes how they teach about the Holocaust. And there's nothing better than that. And it's something we strive for. Now, we're perfectionists, so we're always going to be going for 100% versus 97, but it's a good start. And because of the success in this area, we are now building new partnerships to continue growing our professional developments. We just signed a contract with Echoes and Reflections. Some of you might have heard of Echoes. Echoes is the nationwide Holocaust educator. They are a collaboration of Yad Vashem, of the Anti-Defamation League, and of the USC Shoah Foundation. And now, our HERC staff and trained teachers are going to be the official boots on the ground here in Wisconsin, offering these trainings to the entire state. To further increase our footprint in Wisconsin, we are launching a fellowship program in 2023. This will involve providing funding and support to 4 educators, classroom educators in middle and high school settings, to these different communities outside of Milwaukee. The idea is that by building these relationships, not only are our own staff going and driving all the way to Turtle Lake, Wisconsin, which is way up north, in case you're wondering. We're driving way up there every year to do educator workshops. We also have a teacher there who is our point of contact. As a fellow, that teacher will be able to provide programming under HERC's auspices, will be able to let us know when there are anti-Semitic incidents in classrooms, and will be able to help us have a presence in that region. We also plan to continue expanding our Holocaust education map. This was originally funded by the Harry Hoffman Family Foundation. We are so proud of it. It has 116 lesson plans today. And by the end of 2023, it'll probably be closer to 130. These lessons are a direct result of requests we're receiving from educators. New lesson plans you're going to see involve ways to talk about genocide with your kids, ways to talk about genocide in relation to the Holocaust, ways to identify the red flags of genocides that might be happening in today's world. And what I'm really excited about, and this was inspired by Edie Pump, one of our survivors we're honoring tonight, we are creating our first set of lesson plans in Spanish. And that's a big deal. And this was born out of the realization from a student who was impacted by Edie. That this particular student was an immigrant, a refugee, and a year before he met Edie, he didn't speak English. He didn't have access to our resources at HERC. And we want to continue that accessibility, and that is why we are starting with Spanish, and we don't believe this will be the end of the offerings we can have. And we are developing our Speakers Bureau further. We'll hear a bit more about our Speakers Bureau tonight, but we are down to our last precious Holocaust survivors. And we need all of you who are the children and grandchildren of survivors to tell your family stories. We are getting the calls ringing off the hook by March from all the different school districts in Wisconsin who want a speaker in their classroom. And we want to always be able to say yes. So far, we have not had to say no, and we really hope you'll help us get there. And finally, we are a part of the solution in combating anti-Semitism. I don't have to tell this crowd how troubling the rising incidents of anti-Semitism are in today's world. Since 2015, our colleagues at the Jewish Community Relations Council have reported a 500% increase in incidents in our state alone. In fact, an incident happened here this week in Whitefish Bay. And what's most troubling to our staff and board at HERC is that one of the fastest areas of growth in anti-Semitism is in middle and high school settings. And then in college settings. And these are audiences that we are engaging with already, and HERC can play a pivotal role in helping combat anti-Semitism in these spaces. Above all else, the future of HERC depends on all of you, and our extraordinary core of volunteers, of leadership, of philanthropists who make our work possible. While the Holocaust Education Bill was our watershed moment, it did not include any funding from the state, and everything I just mentioned, everything you saw in the video tonight, is made possible through the generosity of this community. And it's not just about today. It's about that generation that's going to come after us, that is going to take on the telling of these stories to their kids. We are celebrating tonight because of the strong foundation and vision you all provide. And the great news is that we're just getting started. Thank you so much for going on this journey with us.
All right, this time if we could ask you, I'm going to ask you to pay attention to the screen here. We're going to show you a video introducing you to this year's Teacher of the Year.
Hi, my name is Sam Goldberg, and I'm HERC's Director of Education. Lindsay McBride is being awarded our HERC Holocaust Educator of the Year for the work that she's done, not just this year, but for the past several years of working with HERC. Before my time, Lindsay brought her students to the Capitol to show support and give testimony when the motion for Holocaust education was first on the floor. Since then, she's continued to show her dedication for the cause by joining our teacher advisory group, participating in professional development, and editing lesson plans for our Holocaust education map. Having worked with her for the past 3 years, it is clear to see her passion for Holocaust education, her dedication to her students, and her strong sense of self, always willing to stand up for what is right. Lindsay, congratulations.
Congratulations, Lindsay McBride, on a well-deserved recognition. You have brought some powerful speakers that have presented to our students, sometimes sharing first-hand accounts of Holocaust experiences. I want to thank you and congratulate you on a well-deserved recognition.
The Holocaust Education Resource Center gave me an opportunity to use my voice surrounding the Holocaust. We got to go to the Capitol to kind of help pass a mandate, and it was really cool to be able to use our voice in such a powerful way. And then we were also able to meet a survivor named Howard Melton, and we created shirts for him that said life is a gift because he had such a positive outlook on life. And we kind of take his lessons that he provided to us through his experiences in the Holocaust, and we use that in everyday life.
Well, I know that when my dad told his story, that she really embraced the message, which, about not showing hatred, but kindness. She took his saying, life is a gift, and they had it as a motto one year in their school. So she really embraced the positive message, and she was an outstanding educator. She knew how to excite her students and get them to embrace it.
Well, that she's been to the cemetery a few times, which she didn't have to do, and she cared a lot about Howard. She put up a plaque in McDowell Park for him. So I just feel like she is a family member.
The memorials and the love that she showed my dad in was just, our whole family was profoundly touched by her caring and her love.
I admire her for being such a wonderful teacher, not only because of the Holocaust, but I know she cares about all people.
I just want to thank her for playing such an important role in my dad's life, and I know how important she was to my dad. It means a lot to us.
And all the letters that she had from our students, he read all of them, and he really appreciated it. She had her class do that, write a letter after. I love her like a member of our family. I really think of her as that because she's been so kind. And I just want to say that I'm very proud of her. I couldn't be more proud.
So Deborah, if you could join me on stage, and if Lindsay McBride could also come up at this time. Deborah's going to present Lindsay with the award and recognition, and then Lindsay's going to share with us a few comments. So congratulations, everyone. Lindsay McBride.
It's my great honor on behalf of HERC to present this award to you, Lindsay.
I also just want to recognize that today was the second day of school?
Yeah.
And you flew down here?
No, well,
not
through
flew,
the
drove quickly.
construction. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the I-43 corridor, it's fun by itself.
Yeah.
So thank you for today.
Thank you. I am incredibly honored to be here with all of you today, and I want to thank everyone in this room for your commitment to Holocaust education. Teaching the Holocaust, as you guys know, can be a really daunting task for an educator. So when I added this subject to my 8th grade curriculum, I knew how important it was to find an organization that could help me in the process. The Nathan and Esther Pelz Holocaust Education Resource Center has supported me for 10 years, and I'm incredibly grateful for their guidance. Our goal as educators is to foster actively engaged citizens who will contribute positively to their communities. But the only way for students to find the confidence and passion for this is to see a direct correlation between their learning and the relevance it has on their lives. HERC gave my students the opportunity to do just that when they invited us to Madison to advocate for the Holocaust mandate to the state legislature in 2020. It is opportunities like these that show students that their voices matter and they have a stake in the game. They wrote advocacy letters, discussed the importance of Holocaust education, saw firsthand how state government works, and had the opportunity to meet and talk with Eva Zaret on a personal level. I still hear about this experience from the students that went with me, and they're in high school now. Actually, they're seniors. I would also like to thank HERC for their commitment to providing speakers for our classrooms. It is imperative to me that students hear from Holocaust survivors and their families. It is the most powerful primary source available and has helped my students to see beyond the number of 6 million Jews murdered and 5 million others. I know that for survivors and their families, it can be difficult to drive to a school that is really far away, unless you're Howard Mountain and insist on driving by yourself 40 minutes every time he came to speak to my school every year. Survivors take time out of their day to do it for free, and I know that this experience of retelling their story can be extremely hard on them. I'm incredibly grateful to HERC for supporting and balancing the needs of the survivors with the inflexibility of a school schedule. I would also like to thank the following people for changing the lives of Northern Ozaukee students: Arlene Pelz, Sue Bernstein, Werner Richheimer, Eva Zaret, Marty Thau, Edith Pump, and especially Howard Melton's family. When I first met Howard, I was really inspired by his positivity, candor, warmth, and over the course of the years, we became really close. He always talked about introducing me to Evelyn and his family, but we never got around to it. After his passing, Evelyn and I connected, and I'm so grateful to call her family, as well as her other family in the room. It is surprising how death can sometimes bring people together, but that is what I hope all of you understand, that one speaker and one experience for a student can create a domino effect, where so many lives are impacted. I know that the travel became more difficult for him, but I want his family to know that he changed so many lives in the time he's just at my school. I think my middle school students can better speak to the impact that he had on their lives, so I'd like to read you a few quotes from thank you letters they sent to him over the years. One student said, quote, "I was really moved by your unique, high perseverance and determination to live, and your bright, open, loving, and motivating spirit and story. Before I met you, I had so much hate for the people who've hurt me in the past, and I had such rage and negative energy. Since I met you, sir, it started slowly going away, and I have had 10 times the amount of hope that I had before. So I honestly can never thank you enough," end quote. Another student said, quote, "Howard, what can I say? You're the man. Thank you. Your story is inspiring, and as a 14-year-old young man, I admire your humbleness and hopefulness. It is really important for you to know that your story needs to be told to as many people as possible. Something I took away from you is that no matter anything, everyone is just a mensch, or a human being. No matter how successful I become, your words of everyone is just a human being will stick with me forever," end quote. Another student said, quote, "Your story is one that must be heard. It is because of leaders like you that awareness is spread and change will come. You've taught me to be hopeful. You've taught me not to wait for change, but to be the change." These were just a few of the words that my students shared to show how Howard impacted them. As a speaker, you come in and out of a room and do not always know the impact that you make, but as a teacher, I know the students well and have seen firsthand the incredible influence that survivors have made on their lives. In addition to survivors, HERC has allowed my students the opportunity to hear from experts in the field of genocide, education, and literacy. I would like to thank the following people for changing the lives of Northern Ozaukee students: Carl Wilkins, Liza Weimer, Danny Cohen, Sarah Sillers, and Sam Goldberg. If you don't know, Carl Wilkins was a rescuer during the Rwandan genocide. He was a missionary and the only American to stay in Rwanda during the genocide. Liza Weimer is the author of the book The Assignment, which is about a teacher that does a lesson where students play the part of Nazis during the Wannsee Conference and the impact that it has in the community. More importantly, it is about students that rise up and attempt to stop the lesson. It shows kids the power of using their voices to advocate for change. Danny Cohen speaks to students about children, the LGBTQ+ community, and the Roma and Sinti's experience in the Holocaust, helping the students to see the history from various perspectives. Sarah Sillers and Sam Goldberg present topics such as bystanders and upstanders, Kristallnacht, and the history of anti-Semitism, as well as Sam led a restorative conversation with my students after we had an anti-Semitic incident. My students have read your books, are inspired by your work, and have received a new outlook on the world. Thank you for prioritizing student learning and for sharing your work with kids. If you're a donor, promoter, or supporter of HERC, I just want you to be aware of a few more opportunities that HERC has provided my students, as well as myself as a teacher. They have teacher committees and conferences that educators across the state can share ideas, grapple with modern anti-Semitism in our schools, and change our teaching practices. We've attended field trips where the kids were able to make, connections between the Holocaust and the power of photography as a primary source. They've heard from photojournalists, authors, professors, and people who witnessed genocide. They were given books to read, videos to watch, resources to learn from, and virtual learning experiences. But most importantly, HERC is committed to educating the whole child, to inspiring them to be upstanders in their communities, and to develop the strength and confidence to stand up against injustice, to care about one another. Thank you again, HERC, and the incredible people I met through your organization. I hope you are able to see the resources, support, and opportunities you provide have enhanced my ability to educate and inspire my students. Your dedication to education is commendable, and I'm honored to be part of the positive impact you make in the lives of both educators and learners. Thank you again for this incredible honor and for supporting this wonderful organization.
This is something that I need you all to know, is that great educators like Lindsay, this was incredibly difficult. And a standing ovation is not something that you look for, because great teachers are humble, and they're kind, and they're caring. And this is not something great teachers seek. And what I really want to share with you is that what she represents up here, and that's the innovation and the drive to create advocates amongst great kids in Northern Ozaukee and Fredonia, which is fantastic. So thank you for your work. And lastly, you also see a leader here, someone who leads in her school and her community. where my sheet disappeared. Yeah. I got a couple of other things to say about you now, Lindsay.
Thank you.
I texted Lindsay's superintendent a picture of her while she was up here speaking, and he wrote, "Great human being, great leader." I wrote back, "Great big raise." All right, so our next guest that I'd like to introduce to the stage is, first I'd like you to take a look at the winning artwork that is up behind me today that was done by students. And I'd like to introduce Jody Habish-Sinekin to come up here today to celebrate the student achievements in Holocaust and writing and her work that she does as a leader in our community.
I have one of the winners of this year's essay contest with me, David Lenzel, and I'm very happy to have his company. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jody Habish-Sinekin, and I'm honored to be here tonight to represent the Habish Family Foundation, which for decades now has sponsored our community's Holocaust writing and art contest to inspire future generations to learn about the Holocaust and become the leaders and change makers of tomorrow. Every year, staff and volunteers from both HERC and the Jewish Community Center set a prompt for middle and high school students. This year's prompt was, "Anti-Semitism did not begin, nor did it end with the Holocaust. Based on your knowledge of the Holocaust, what dangers do anti-Semitism and other forms of identity-based hate pose in your opinion? What are the best ways to combat rising anti-Semitism today?" These are important questions, and it is vital that we listen in order to understand the perspectives of youth. Just as previous generations, like us, forged their own paths forward, young people today, like David, are cultivating the ability to think, express themselves, and positively impact our world. Just look what Samantha did just not too many years ago and how she's moved forward to help all of us, seriously. And Holocaust education is vital to making these individuals well-rounded citizens and the leaders of tomorrow. This year's contest winners are Leah Asimov from the Milwaukee Jewish Day School. Her essay title is, "Are You Part of the Problem?" One excerpt from her essay was, "When we stand up for what we believe in, there is always a chance that we risk the very things we fight for, our safety, our lives, our freedom, but the outcome will always be worth it." The next essay winner is also from the Milwaukee Jewish Day School, Piper Shotley. Her essay title is, "Education is a Solution." Her excerpt reads, "There are many dangers when people hate others because of one's identity. Although the issue seems everlasting and impossible to fix, it is not." David attends Golda Meir High School. He's currently a junior, but he wrote his winning essay as a sophomore last year. His essay title is Identity-Based in the Real World and the Holocaust Hate Explained. I would like you to hear from David's own words, an excerpt from his essay. Thank you, David.
It's always nice to know that there are still people out there who can support you and the values you stand for. And if people like the Nazis could have educated themselves and learned more about the people they hated, they might have seen they were not so different from themselves.
And we offer for the evolution of the essay contest an art component, which has been fascinating and inspiring to see the submissions. This one that we will be seeing, or maybe it was already shown, it might be shown again, is by Isabel Rosenberg from Dominican High School. The title of her art piece is Broken Identity. From her artist statement, she wrote, "The portraits in the background of this piece represents families torn in half, facing life or death. I placed my self-portrait into the collage of families torn apart by the Holocaust to represent my personal story with anti-Semitism and how it fits into current discrimination." I want all of you to know that the entirety of the winning essays and the art submissions will be available online first. And I just thank all of you for being here and supporting this endeavor, and especially for HERC for your ongoing support of this opportunity for the young people in our community and beyond. And thank you so much.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of our... Hold on a second.
Right. You'd think I'd learned this one. There we go. All right. All this. There we go.
You got one job, Ted, one job. All right, so next I'm going to ask to come back up to the stage Samantha, and she's going to talk to us about the HERC Impact Awards and the Speaker Bureau, the Holocaust survivors and the Bureau of the Holocaust Survivors. Samantha, please come on back up to the stage.
When HERC approached Eva, Edie, and Werner about being honored at this evening's program, we were initially met with some resistance. I won't tell you from whom. "I'm no hero. I don't need praise for what I do," we heard again and again from multiple survivors. Yet, what these Holocaust survivors do, week after week, as part of HERC Speakers Bureau, cannot be overstated. There are times during our busiest time of year, around Yom HaShoah, which is coincidentally when all social studies classes in the entire state get to their World War II units, we'll have maybe 3 or 4 requests a week for our Speakers Bureau to come speak. And these survivors answer the call. In fact, during the first year of Act 30 in full effect, we grew from 2,000 students served a year to over 6,000. We talk a lot about numbers at HERC. We sort of frame this whole program as our annual report card, and we've been sending all sorts of numbers your way. But what Eva, Edie, and Werner have taught me over the years is that Holocaust education is about one and one. It's about that human connectivity, recognizing that you have a responsibility to care for the person in front of you, to treat them with dignity and respect. Listening to a survivor is a life-changing experience that leaves a lasting impact on students forever. We just heard from Lindsay the impact Howard and others had on her students. Watching students transform before my eyes from when they walk into a classroom, sometimes rowdy, sometimes shouting, words I will not shout here, but maybe not being as respectful to one another as they could be. Watching them transform over the course of an hour as they hear from our survivors is my favorite part of my job. There's nothing like it, and we can't measure it. It's really hard to measure human behavior and how we see those changes, but those of us observing it know it's real. These first-person accounts that Eva, Edie, and Werner provide not only provide concrete evidence of what happened, but offer life lessons on bearing witness to injustices and standing up for others in need. These speaking engagements are not easy for the audience or the speaker. Eva, Edie, and Werner give so much of themselves and share their stories again and again, even though it takes a toll every time they share these stories. They do it because they know how important it is to inspire the next generation of leaders. In the spirit of storytelling, which they've taught us, HERC wanted to find a way to honor these 3 individuals in a meaningful way and enlisted the artistic talents of Angela Shelstad of Project Q to create a unique piece of art that represents each of the survivors on their journeys. In a moment, I'm going to call Angela up so that she can share these art pieces that she's created and tell us a little bit more about her process. After the presentation of these paintings, they will be available for you all to look at afterwards. And we are going to go directly into a video that gives testimonials from students impacted by the Holocaust survivors in HERC Speakers Bureau. So with that, Angela, please come on.
The mission of Project Q is to highlight the lives of the honorees through art and film. The artwork honors the happy, exciting achievements, adventures, and uplifting experiences that each and every one of these honorees have experienced. Project Q highlights the strengths of the survivors and how they triumphed despite the enormous challenges they incurred. I interviewed each of the honorees and listened to their unique individual stories, and then I put paint to canvas, where I painted a painting based on their life experience and what shaped them into being who they are today. Everyone has a story. This has been an amazing honor to interview and to learn about each of these honorees. Now, I would love to finally show you and tell you how your story inspired the artwork that was made in honor of each of you. Eva. In the worst of times, some people stood up and saved others. These were angels God had sent. These were the strangers that were miracles. Have peace. Life is beautiful, and be grateful. It just takes one person to make a difference and save the world. Eva's painting was inspired by her journey through life, the challenges she faced along the way, and the changing landscapes she encountered along her path to freedom. I have never been afraid to work hard. My favorite place to be is in nature. I find it healing and comforting. I am inspired by my family and all the children in the world. I am here for all the children. The mountains and the sun represent her faith, strength, and determination. Everyone needs to learn from our past, our history. We need to learn about it to make change. It's our responsibility. Werner. Family saved me and my sister. Family is everything, and I am proud of and inspired by mine. My aunt took care of us. My parents left us to save us. My children for all their successes. My greatest achievements in life are being alive, my children, and my practice. Werner's painting shows the tree of life representing his life story. The sunbeams represent his faith and strength. The water flowing behind the tree is nourishment and power flowing through time. The roots are his family and the strength of them all connected, helping and strengthening one another. The tulips in the grass represent spring, the fresh start after a long cold winter, and the roots are in the shape of a smile, representing happiness. Edie. Born in Uzbekistan, my parents foraged for food daily as we lived in hiding. I became sick when I was very young and lived in a sanatorium for 3 years. When I recovered, we moved to America. I always wanted to be a teacher and went to college at Oshkosh. Work hard, set goals, and don't let others stop you. I now speak to children about my past, and they relate to me in their own way. I'm here to help them. I am happiest when my family is doing well and when I'm volunteering at synagogue and blood drives. I am a hard worker and tough. I'm a good person, mother, wife, and caregiver. I love being involved with the community. Edie's painting shows the national flower of Uzbekistan. The tulip represents her birthplace. The lulav and estrag represent her faith, and the myrtle for her love and prosperity. The rose for healing and beauty. This all surrounds her and the connection she's made with people who touched her life. I'd like to express my deepest appreciation for this opportunity to meet each of you and being able to paint in honor of you. If I could please get a picture with the honorees at the end of this, that would be amazing. I'd really appreciate that. I just want to close here and let you know that you are not just survivors, that you are thrivers.
Imagine how hard it must be telling people your story because it feels like reliving it all over again. I really took away from your presentation that we need to be kind. It's a really important lesson, and I think that more people will start to believe it after your presentation.
I'm not teaching the Holocaust. I'm not able to do that. But I can tell them what I went through, what my family, my immediate family went through, and some of my experiences that have taken over my life, and it's a good feeling.
Something that stuck with me after you left was your message about how life is a gift and how we should cherish that gift. I love learning about the Holocaust. I have read probably over 100 books on the subject, but I never have been more touched than when you came to talk to us. Ever since you came to talk to us, I have a new understanding on the subject I thought I knew so much about.
Your message has had a big impact on me and many other students. It shows that not all people are bad, because you can find good in a bad situation. You inspire many, many people with your speeches, and you've changed the way I thought about the Holocaust by sharing your personal experience. And you did it right in front of us too.
I have to do it because I feel maybe in a small way I do something good. I bring something good so people can see that choose the good. Choose the good in life. And that's why I do it, otherwise I don't. Because it opens my wounds all the time.
I am so grateful and blessed that you are here to tell your family story, and it's people like you who can help change the world and change America. You really helped to change my perspective on Holocaust and war victims. It is important for us to know the history so we can make our generation better, guys.
With all the beauty still left around you, and be happy. This quote really reminded me of what you said about living your life even what after you've gone through.
I find it amazing and inspiring that you have such a positive outlook on life and still love people as a whole. You really brought my attention to what it's really like to be one of the people targeted back then, and what you went through was horrible, and I am grateful for people like you, people who don't spread hate for me.
The Holocaust is about hatred and lack of morals. Holocaust deniers do exist. The Holocaust was the worst atrocity in man's history on this planet. Yet, there are those who deny that it happened. The Holocaust is not debatable. There is so much documented evidence of this genocide. Education is a weapon to fight against this type of ignorance.
So we're going to conclude this evening by doing a couple of things. One is first to thank each of you for attending tonight. And that brings value, lift, and energy to the HERC staff and team and the board for their advocacy. Remember, if you get a chance as you walk out, that the artist, that was beautiful, what you had said and how you interpreted those different pieces. Please make sure to take a look at that art as you're going through. Also, remember that HERC's efforts are not funded by the state of Wisconsin or the federal government. There are no grants. We are only here tonight because of the perseverance of few to make sure that many would be impacted by it. At your tables, there's a little scan code there, a QR code. You can scan that and support us and continue to help the HERC mission. And just as a final piece here, I just want to say thank you as a public educator, elected official, whatever, for what you do. But I really want to end out with one thing, and I want to thank you for my favorite title in the whole world, and that is Dad. And what I want to thank you for is that the HERC ability to impact our children is significant. And the one thing that we need to do a better job of as a group and a society is to ensure that our children leave their educational experiences advocating for what is right. And what is right is to never forget. And one of the pieces that comes from that is the ability to do two things which I think HERC does an amazing job of. And that is leading our children to understand two qualities that we can all take away from both the survivors as well as the experiences and the learning. And those two qualities are this: perseverance and tenacity. And this organization demonstrates that and models that every day. Perseverance, the idea that you never quit on yourself, and tenacity, that you never quit on others. So thank you for what you do on behalf of the educators in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you for what you do and what you support. And thank you for being one of the 19 states that ensures that every child in our state will leave their educational experiences understanding the journey of the Jewish people through the Holocaust, all people through the Holocaust, and most importantly, how to stand up to the ignorance through their advocacy by your modeling of the two greatest qualities on the planet: perseverance and tenacity. Thank you, and have a great night, and thank you to our HERC staff.